the UK's sustainability journey. Sustainability has become a central pillar of progress across the UK. As the climate crisis accelerates and resource demands grow, industries of every kind are rethinking the way they operate, where heritage industries like manufacturing and engineering are joining forces with cutting-edge innovations in renewables. In today's program, Executive TV will speak to companies across a variety of sectors, explore the challenges they face, and what they think the path to net zero looks like. Wattstor finance and design renewable energy systems for industrial and commercial businesses looking to cut costs and decarbonise.
Wattstor is into what we call renewable energy systems. And this is really an exciting space that we're in right now because we're in a world now where you can go green, be sustainable, and make money as well. So we bring this together and we bring this to businesses and companies across the UK and actually across Europe as well to help them on that journey to sustainability, which they now can make money from and go green at the same time. So this is ultimately what we're about.
CSL Power Systems are leading specialists in generator and load bank installations, maintenance, hire, and more.
First incorporated CSL Power Systems in the year 2000. Before this period, I was heavily involved with controls and electrical installations linked to the supply of standby power to many public, commercial and domestic sectors. Over the last 25 years, the business has faced its challenges and has had to evolve in services to follow the economic and environmental changes within the power generation industry.
Mavin Powercube design, build and maintain custom, scalable and secure containerised modular data centres.
Mavin was established in 2005, Mavin and Powercube. Mavin very much around the enterprise IT sector and Powercube in relation to design, build, deployment of containerised data centres and critical infrastructure solutions. Since 2005, we have been evolving designs and solutions within our facilities and deploying within the UK and globally.
Across a wide range of sectors, UK businesses are embedding sustainability into core operations. Renewable technologies like wind, solar, and battery storage are being scaled rapidly to reduce emissions and improve energy resilience.
I've always said in my career that sustainability starts with economic sustainability. If you follow the money and you make the right economic investments and decisions, all the other sustainability benefits follow. If you want to get a business to decarbonise, you don't need to force them to count the carbon. You actually get them to look at the dollars, the pounds, and look at the best investments to drive their business forward. Because if their business is not in business in 2050, it doesn't matter how much carbon they've tried to save on the way. So economic sustainability for me is important. For Wattstor, you have to be a good citizen. It's about, we say, a license to operate. You want to be welcomed into the business. You have to be a solid performer and make sure that those renewable projects are not causing any impacts on the local community or the local environment. So that sensitivity has to be there.
The current state of play for renewables in the UK is actually pretty good, we have to say. So if you look at it from a macro level, kind of like the large scale, you see a lot of offshore wind farms coming in, you see a lot of large battery energy storage systems there, solar farms being built. Last year, actually, we had more than half of all the electricity used in the UK came from renewable sources, which is pretty amazing. If you look at the local level where a business actually operate, there the picture is a bit different. So I think there needs to be more done on decentralized electricity generation, storage and usage. But overall, I think the state of renewables is very good here and is also looking good going forward because it's just cheaper now than fossil fuels. If you look at like a solar farm cost, for example, for a business, it's going to be lower than taking that electricity from the grid by a large margin, actually. And that also makes that local decentralized generation, together with large-scale front-of-the-meter offshore wind farms, much more attractive at this point in time.
Sustainability for us is the operation of the business in a way that reduces unnecessary input or energy resources and reduces waste as a byproduct or direct consequence of inefficient operation, which supports the long-term environmental balance. Our primary focus is to ensure the products we install are of sufficient quality to ensure that they can be repaired or be installed in a way that gives them the best chance of exceeding their designed lifespan safely.
announcements from UK.gov around the UK becoming an AI superpower has injected a lot of progression into conversations with organisations wishing to ensure that they're ready for utilising AI within their own businesses. And that in turn is requiring a huge amount of investment into infrastructure that can support the use of AI within the UK and globally. That requires data centres, that requires power. But then you have the considerations when you are utilising large amounts of power. You've also really got to have a think about the sustainability element of that as well. And within the UK, we do have power challenges. Luckily, we also have some really well-evolved renewable energy operations nationwide, and Mavin are engaged with a number of renewable energy companies to work with them and collaborate to deliver data centre solutions that are powered through renewable energy. We provide a full service wrap for our Powercube deployments, and that would encompass anything from a full managed service throughout the life of that data centre environment, and that would include regular annual maintenance of all the key component parts, all the M&E, and can also include all the IT infrastructure within that environment as well.
For Mavin, corporate social responsibility is not just about ticking a box. We actively encourage our people to get out into the world and do things that will help everybody.
The UK's manufacturing sector is modernising with greener practices, from waste reduction to use of artificial intelligence. Alongside this, renewables deployment has seen an uptick in recent years, though the industry struggles with a skills gap.
Driving sustainability within our own manufacturing environment is key, and we do that by running a regular programme of reviewing our operations, reviewing our supply chain, ensuring that ourselves and our supply chain are all being as sustainable as each of us can be. That in turn is in relation to the materials and components that we may procure, through to how our supply chain are provisioning those to us, and making sure that we are measuring on a regular basis how our end-to-end operation works, and making regular tangible tweaks to our operations as well to ensure that we are always operating at our optimum efficiency.
So manufacturing industry is adopting sustainability through a number of engagements really. Powercube are introducing Internet of Things in terms of the monitoring capabilities of our solutions to ensure that they operate optimally and minimise the use of power consumption. We also engage and use AI where possible, particularly again through our monitoring solutions.
The obvious thing which is talked about far and wide is renewable energy is now the cheapest source of energy. When you couple solar, wind, batteries together, there's no debate anymore. As we say, the train has left the station. Renewables will be the technology of choice for generating the next incremental kilowatt hour of energy. For businesses and consumers, it's how does that opportunity get transferred into cost reductions, where they can see meaningful reductions in their energy bills because of this transformation. And I think that's the challenge. Can we drive the 2050 targets, the clean energy that the government's pushing, and at the same time drive down the energy bills for business? So that's one opportunity. The other opportunity is skills and expertise. We are seeing in our business, there's a shortage of designers, project managers, experienced engineers who can bring these renewable systems to life. So for education and career creation, huge opportunity for the UK. If you think about generating a unit of electricity in an offshore wind farm, probably at peak times, only about 80% of that energy would reach the consumer. So the amount of investment you have to make to deliver electricity generation 200 or 300 miles away from where it's consumed can be done in a complementary way and a secure way with localized systems. So community energy schemes, communities getting together, businesses collaborating on industrial parks, almost microgrid type configurations of solar, wind and batteries.
We have a detailed business management system which includes a number of environmental policies which are shared with employees. We have an approved supplier list, ensuring our suppliers share our considerations to the environment, and the majority of our communications are online. supporting our aim to become a paperless office. Preventative maintenance is key to longevity, product life cycle and emissions reduction.
Thorough testing ensures that initial calculations carried out are correct. It also provides reassurance to the end client that a robust and engineered solution has been installed. Testing should be undertaken to confirm the system operates as intended, and also to confirm it functions and reacts beyond its intended use for the safety of everyone. Testing also ensures the engineered systems provided is more efficient, decreasing net fuel consumption, which is better for the environment, and aids in the longevity of the product.
To a certain degree, you can't make something more efficient than its limits. All generators have a mechanical efficiency and they all have an electrical efficiency. By and large, they're all the same across all companies. What we try to do to improve that is by regular maintenance, so our rental fleet in particular, to ensure that that goes out 100% reliable. We make sure that all filters are changed ahead of time, or service intervals are all kept up and they're regularly load tested. We also use ultra-low sulfur diesel, which is cleaner in itself to burn, as well as just slightly cleaner as a product. If we can, we use stage 5 equipment. So stage 5 is emissions compliant equipment, which basically means, like your car, that now has a catalytic converter and selective catalyst reduction. It basically means that what's coming out of the exhaust pipe is a lot cleaner, there's a lot less fumes, debris and smell as well. There's a limit to what we can do for efficiency. They're about 97 to 98% efficient on electrical efficiency. There's not much you can do about that, but what we try and do is make sure that our generators burn as completely as possible the fuel that they're given. And that's done by maintenance.
Innovation drives progress. It's how industries evolve, stay competitive, and meet the changing needs of society.
Innovation is kind of at the core of our business, really. What we try and do is adapt our methods and previous experience to fit any solution. So some of the things we see are not standard, they're not simple to fix problems. So what we do is we try and innovate in the methods in which we can solve these problems. So we have a wealth of partners that we use and we can rely on them for giving advice and things like that as well. But mainly the innovation comes into how we go about solving problems where others potentially have not been able to succeed. How we do that is we approach it in different ways to the industry standards, really. We've
been involved with a number of UK supported innovation projects which have all proven to be successful. That has helped us increase our own R&D spend on innovation, both in terms of incorporating the new technologies that are coming out into the marketplace, but also enabling us to look at how we are able to manufacture and deploy our solutions in a more sustainable fashion. So innovation to us, it's part of our daily operation.
What we found with Mavin Powercube is that they've been incredibly flexible with our requirements, which is great because our thinking has been evolving over the course of the last few years, and the guys have been working with us to help us establish what it is we need. So that kind of client side support has been really useful. The fact that they're based 10 miles away from where we are is a great story for Welsh industry as well. So that's a really important factor for us too. The quality of their product is as good as we could possibly hope for it to be, and the team here have just been incredibly supportive. They're great people, they're great to work with. I enjoy their company, and I enjoy the way they work, and actually the commercial solutions that we've got from them fit the bill for us as well.
It's the rapid improvement in battery technology for the last 10 years. 10 years ago, batteries were coming, but they were very expensive, and people were not deploying them. In the last 5 years, the price of batteries and the size of the batteries, the physical footprint required to store energy, has come down dramatically. Energy storage is so competitive as a way of absorbing surplus renewable energy that the renewable penetration of solar and wind will continue at pace at large scale, producing at sometimes excess renewable energy, but the energy storage system will be absorbing it and deploying it at the right time. So that combination of the price coming down, the energy density getting better, and the cost of solar coming down, it will keep being the next obvious choice for every power project that needs to be deployed.
Government policy plays a vital role in shaping a sustainable future.
I believe there's a big part to be played by the UK government in driving a more sustainable UK, certainly within manufacturing as a whole, but certainly within our specific sector of data centres. And again, the government looking to harness that renewable energy power that we have readily available nationwide. There's a lot of renewable energy which is surplus to requirements. The companies are unable to put it into the grid because they've reached their capacity. It's already being stored within batteries and utilised for other things. So there's a lot of surplus energy out there, which the government, I believe, needs to have more awareness about.
I think, to be perfectly honest, the government needs to do a lot more for a more sustainable UK. I don't think at the moment they make it economically attractive for companies to explore their carbon footprint or to really sign up to these policies or incentives. They may give tax incentives, for example. We have our research and development incentives, and they had some kind of incentives into your CO2 emissions on your vehicles and things like that. But what they kind of give with one hand, they take with another, so it never quite balances out. And for a business, you have to balance your culture and your internal views on the environment and on sustainability against actually being an economically viable business. We don't just have stakeholders that are reliant on us not polluting the environment. We have employees, they're our stakeholders. We have a duty of care to them to provide an income stream. So we're always balancing commerciality versus the environmental and sustainability side. So obviously we have these accreditations that ensure that we have the correct policies and procedures in place. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have, I think, enough resource to devote to really driving that as a key factor of the business. It's an underlying factor, but not a key factor. And I think unless the government are going to provide financial support for that, then it will be a very slow process.
The state of play today for renewables in the UK, it's a good start. We've made a lot of progress at the sort of macro level, the large generation level, focusing on the power sector. The government, the last 10 or 15 years, has subsidised, incentivised renewable generation. So a good start. It hasn't yet had the same dramatic effect on businesses yet. They're buying their electricity and they're watching the transformation of the power sector. So it's all about how we can get businesses moving in the same direction that the government is at the large scale.
The road to net zero is filled with obstacles.
The journey we're on to 2050 is basically electrifying our economy. We're electrifying everything we do. We've started with the power system, and the government is now realising the challenges are process industries, heat. We have to electrify and decarbonise heat, and we have to decarbonise transport, electric vehicles, as you can see. So if you imagine you're a business at the receiving end of this, you see the power system becoming cleaner, and more renewables. You've got to sort out what you do with your heat generation. Are you going to carry on burning gas? Are you going to shift to electrical heating systems? You're then looking at your fleet of lorries or vans or your logistics, and are you going to electrify your fleet? So the whole renewable journey to 2050 is a holistic impact on businesses across everything they do. And that journey has only just begun. So whilst we see the big headlines of the offshore wind farms and the big solar farms going down, businesses have got a long way to go. They've only just started.
In terms of reaching net zero by 2050, I believe that the UK.gov needs to put a firm stake in the sand and stand by honest principles and a framework of how we're going to achieve that collectively in the UK. As a manufacturing organisation, we're responsible for being involved with that. And I think that the opportunity to, if not achieve by 2050, but get very close is there. It is viable, but it's only viable if we take a very no-nonsense approach to it. And we look at things for what they are. We look at the reality of the situation, look at the reality of how things impact the goal that we're trying to achieve, and work together to support that as a whole.
I don't think that being net zero is achievable by 2050. I think that it's nice to have as a goal, but I think if the government aren't going to provide financial incentive for businesses that really, really does drive them to want to improve their carbon footprint, then you're always going to be fighting the economic factor. There's quite a lot of resource involved in actually becoming net zero. Tracking your carbon footprint, for example, you'll need a staff member that knows what they're talking about. So you need some kind of environmental and sustainability training driven by the business. That's a cost to the business. That person then needs to be able to actually correctly analyse the carbon footprint, what CO2 emissions. On transport for us, for example, what are the lorries producing? What is the carbon footprint of that delivery compared to others? So although internally we might have a general idea, to actually drive a net zero position, you will need a fair bit of resource, and that's a cost. That's another employee. That's another employee's training. And I think that's what the government needs to consider, is that actually, rather than doing that, a business that's trying to succeed and grow is probably going to overlook that factor. And that's why I don't think that it's a realistic goal to be net zero by 2050.
With a rise in renewables adoption, a thriving green tech sector, and public support for climate action, the UK is well positioned to lead on sustainability.
If you look at offshore wind, if you look at the solar, even on the decentralized side, if you look at battery energy storage in particular, the UK is leading, yes. And it's typically always been that case, looking at my 20 plus year career in energy, that the UK kind of starts with decentralizing, with the liberalizing, and then it kind of like that wave swaps over Europe in the next like 5-10 years. So the UK is ahead in terms of regulation, in terms of deployment of batteries and offshore wind and so on. So it's in a good position. Also has the resources, of course, being a windy island with still quite a lot of sun occasionally as well. If I think back, my first job was working in coal power stations as an example. And back then, most, for example, of the electricity in the UK came from coal power stations. Now there's no coal power station on the grid anymore in the UK. They're all gone. So there's a huge change from a fossil fuel driven world to a renewables driven world. Last year already more than half of the electricity we used in the UK was from renewables, and that's still going on and on. It's going to be more. So that's a big change. And then another big change is from a centralized generation, large power stations, to a more decentralized world. And that's where we still need to do more. So you have like your supermarket, right, with solar panels on the roof, with a battery there, with EV chargers, all of that stuff, that is happening as well. Not as fast as the large macro picture, but it's happening as well.
The growth of the renewable industry in the next decade is going to be really fascinating, because the energy sector has been around a long time. The UK privatised electricity and gas 35 years ago. So we have a lot of incumbents who are delivering energy through the existing infrastructure to consumers. But that's not the skill sets and the capabilities that we have in our generation systems of gas and electricity. We need new skill sets now. We need new engineering expertise to work with customers, on their premises, to design, install renewable systems, help customers manage the volatility in electricity prices. Customers want advice. They want to know, well, how do I electrify my fleet? How do I upgrade my electrical supply? I've got to get rid of my gas-fired boilers, but I've got to keep running my business. And this all takes capital. So what is the right answer to this complex challenge we have? And that's where Wattstor comes in. And I think you're going to see a new kind of energy company emerging.
Our management team puts a significant effort into forward planning and logistics to minimise wasted trips and materials. This, combined with the use of efficient vehicles and responsible waste management, is key to our sustainability overall as a company. I think an environmental promise is simply the promise we make to our clients and our staff that we will act responsibly and do what we can to preserve the resources we have access to. There's a shared responsibility for all business and individuals to participate and do what they can.
To ensure the UK sort of moves forward and continues to move forward from a renewable perspective and also from sustainability, there are initiatives in place already, but we certainly can be making better use of those. For example, the use of modern methods of construction. And what I mean by that is, where possible, ensuring that critical infrastructure is manufactured in one location, can be delivered as one solution, minimising the impact on the site that the equipment is being delivered to or where the service is being provided, minimising construction visits, for example, which, as we know from a logistical perspective, has a massive impact on carbon emissions if you have multiple vehicles going to and site on a regular basis. HS2, for example, is a good example of that.
The UK stands at a pivotal point where decisions made today will shape the country's economic and environmental future. With 2050 fast approaching, this transformation isn't just about reaching sustainability targets anymore, but it is about rethinking every incremental step we take that is beneficial to both the environment and economy. With continued investment, clear policy direction, and collaboration between industry and government, the UK can establish a stable framework for long-term economic and environmental performance.